Good morning, students. Welcome to this class. In last few classes, we have discussed about the part air conditioning and ventilation, and we have also solved some problems regarding various air conditioning processes for finding out different properties of moist air. Now today we will start a new chapter or new module, that is compressor. Now, as all of you know that the basic purpose of refrigeration and air conditioning is not only to produce cold environment but also to provide or to produce comfort conditions as per the requirement of the occupants present in a particular system. Now, in order to run a refrigerator or an air conditioner, we have to go for certain thermodynamic cycles or a series of processes which complete a particular cycle, that is known as reverse Carnot cycle, or more precisely we can say that is called vapor compression refrigeration cycle. Now, some basic components are there for that vapor compression refrigeration cycle. Now, one of the most important component is compressor. Now, this compressor is also known as heart of the vapor compression refrigeration system. It is also called heart of VCR system. So, what is the function of the compressor? So, as the name suggests, the name is compressor. That means we have to compress something. And since it is used in case of an VCR system, it is called the heart of the VCR system. So, from the name of the component, it will compress something. So, since the working substance for a VCR system is refrigerant, so it will compress that refrigerant. Now, that refrigerant may be chlorofluorocarbon based refrigerant, HCFC or CFC based refrigerant, or it may be any other thing. That is, may be inorganic compound, it may be organic compound, like this. So the basic function of a compressor is to take a definite quantity of working fluid, usually gas or moist air or any vapor, to raise its or to increase its pressure with an appreciable change in the density. Now, if pressure is increased, as per the relationship or as per the equation of ideal gas, that is PV equal to RT or P equal to rho RT, when pressure is increased, this density of the air will also increase. That is why the main function of a compressor is to take definite quantity of working fluid from a particular space or from a system and raises the pressure with an appreciable increase in density. And after compression, that working fluid is to be delivered to a storage tank or storage vessel. From that storage vessel, it will be conveyed through the pipelines to the space where it is required or where it is to be used. Now, in order to drive a compressor, so in other sense we can say that it can take low pressure. If we consider air as a refrigerant, so it will take low pressure air, and after compressing it will deliver high pressure air. Or if we consider instead of air it is a refrigerant, so it will take a low pressure low temperature vapor refrigerant, and after compressing it will supply a high pressure high temperature vapor refrigerant. But the state of that two vapor may be changed, and by compressing this refrigerant, it maintains a pressure difference between the two connecting parts, that is the inlet and the outlet. Now, to run this compressor, that means in order to produce this high pressure working substance from low pressure, we need some energy input. So some energy input must be there. Now, from where we can get this energy input? Now, if we recapitulate our basic idea about second law of thermodynamics, in second law of thermodynamics we have already used two different terms. One is heat engine, another one was refrigerator or heat pump. What is the function of a heat engine? The function of the heat engine was to produce a reliable value of work output by exchanging energy with two different reservoirs maintained at two different temperatures. Now we can say that if we compare this compressor with a heat engine, then in case of heat engine there will be some energy input in the form of heat, and after producing some work output it will reject the remaining portion of the energy again in the form of heat to another thermal energy reservoir that is called sink. So it will absorb heat from a source, that is high temperature body, and after producing some work output it will deliver the remaining part to a low temperature body that is called sink. But in case of compressor, or in order to drive a compressor, instead of work output we have to supply some energy, or have to impart some energy or give some energy to run this compressor or to produce this high pressure air from low pressure. That means to change the thermodynamic state of the air or working substance. So it will consume some mechanical energy or some electrical energy supplied from the external power source. So we can say that this heat engine and compressor together acts as a compressor prime mover unit. Compressor prime mover unit. It is a single unit. Now what is the function of that compressor prime mover unit? Now for this compressor prime mover unit, the prime mover is nothing but the heat engine. So the function of the prime mover is just to convert a fraction of heat or energy in the form of heat that will be received from a high temperature source into work output. And so far the compressor alone is concerned, the energy which it will receive is exactly equal to the energy available from the prime mover. So we can say that this work output of the prime mover of the engine will act as the work input of the compressor if we consider these two as a single unit. So by this diagram we can differentiate between a compressor and a heat engine, and we can clearly differentiate or clearly say the basic function of the compressor. Okay. Next thing is, what are the applications of compressed air? So second thing is applications of compressed air. What are the applications? Now the compressed air finds its application in various workshops, in automobile industries, or in mines. Now this compressed air may be of three types, in categories with three types: low compressed air, medium compressed air, and highly compressed air. So here it is denoted what will be the characteristics of low compressed, medium compressed, and high compressed air. In case of low compressed air, the pressure of the air will be less than 1 meganewton per meter square, which will be used in case of spray painting, car servicing, or filling of the tires in case of two-wheeler, four-wheeler, or in cycle, supercharging of IC engine, etc. In case of medium compressed air, the pressure ranges from 1 to 8 meganewton per meter square, which will be used in case of gas turbine that drives the air cap. And in case of highly compressed air, the pressure ranges from 8 to 10 meganewton per meter square, which will be used for driving variety of pneumatic tools like handrails, hammers, pneumatic brakes in case of locomotives, pneumatic presses, etc. Now in overall sense, we can say that the compressed air also finds its application rather than all these in case of refrigeration and cooling of large building, transmitting the control system pressure, that is in case of high pressure layout cutout, low pressure cutout, different control parameters or control equipments for air conditioning and refrigeration system, pneumatic drilling of hard rocks, this one is very important, and blasting them, driving vibrators for mixing cement and concrete, and operation of door, ram, case gates and conveyor. So these are some of the applications of compressed air. Now next thing, you have to find out what are the types of compressors. Now generally compressors are classified into two categories. One is called positive displacement compressor, another one is called rotodynamic compressor. See, this one is positive displacement and this is rotodynamic. Now this positive displacement compressor can be again divided into two categories. One is reciprocating compressor, another one is rotary compressor. Similarly, rotary compressor can be divided into four categories: scroll compressor, screw compressor, roller type and vent type compressor. Here it is clearly noticed: positive displacement type, rotodynamic type. Positive displacement is again classified into reciprocating and rotary. Rotary is again subdivided into four groups: scroll, screw, roller type, vent type. And this rotodynamic compressor, it can be also termed as turbo compressor. It can be again classified into two types. One is centrifugal compressor, another one is axial flow compressor. And so all these parts or classifications will be discussed one after another. So first we have to go for reciprocating compressor or positive displacement type compressor. Okay. Now what is positive displacement type compressor? This diagram denotes the positive displacement type compressor. This diagram. What are the characteristics of that positive displacement? In case of positive displacement type compressor, the compression is achieved by, see, if you look at the figure, it is generally a piston cylinder arrangement where the piston reciprocates within the cylinder. So some compression will be there if we use some working fluid in between the piston and the cylinder. So here the compression is achieved by trapping the refrigerant vapor into the enclosed space between the piston and the cylinder, and then by reducing its volume. Now since the volume of the cylinder is fixed, so a fixed amount of refrigerant can be trapped each time and its pressure rises as well as the volume will get reduced, because when this piston will move from downward to upward, the refrigerant will be compressed. At the same time, the pressure will be increased and the volume will be reduced. Now, when the pressure rises to a level which is slightly higher than the condensing pressure, then the delivery valve will be open and it will be expelled from the enclosed space. Again, through the open intake valve, a fresh charge or fresh low pressure charge will be introduced into the cylinder. So, by this way, the cycle will continues. So this is the type of positive displacement type compressor. This is positive displacement type compressor. Okay. Next thing is, now on the basis of construction, this positive displacement type compressor is used in refrigeration air conditioning system, can be classified into 5 categories or 5 types. What are the 5 types? Reciprocating type, rotary type. Now rotary type can be of 2 types: rotary type with sliding vane, rotary screw type, orbital compressor and acoustic compressor. So what is the basic difference between reciprocating type and rotary type? In case of reciprocating compressor, just like this one, there will be a piston cylinder arrangement because the name is reciprocating, so the cylinder will reciprocate within the piston. So there it is a piston cylinder arrangement assembly. The interaction between the cylinder and the piston, or the interaction between the sliding piston and the fluid or the working fluid involves a change in volume and subsequently a change in pressure. That means if the pressure is increased, volume will get reduced. Now this unit is mostly used or most useful or suitable for small mass flow rate and large pressure ratio. So reciprocating type is suitable for small mass flow rate and large pressure ratio. And this reciprocating type can be of two, reciprocating compressor can be of two types. It may be single acting, it may be double acting. Single acting has only one delivery stroke per revolution. It means for a single revolution there will be one delivery stroke or one suction stroke. For double acting there will be two delivery stroke per revolution of the crankshaft. But in case of rotary type, a rotary part will be present. And the boundary of that rotary part will causes the positive displacement of the working fluid to make the compression. In case of rotary type, what we actually done here, the air is generally compressed by trapping it into a reducing space formed by a set of engaging surface, just like this. So this one is the working fluid. So in case of rotary type or rotary, this one is the rotary part. So one rotary part is present whose boundary will cause the positive displacement of the fluid to make the compression. This rotary part will rotate within this external cover, and the air will be compressed by trapping it, or the fluid will be compressed by trapping it in a reducing space. See, the space is gradually reducing space formed by a set of engaging surface. These are the attachment engaging surfaces used. And the change in pressure either by backflow of the air or both by squeezing action and backflow of the air takes place. And this rotary type can be used for high speed, can operate at high speed, and it can handle large mass flow rate of air. So for when large mass flow rate is required and high speed operation is required, then we have to use this rotary type. So the difference between reciprocating type and rotary type is clear. Next category is rotodynamic. So next category is rotodynamic type. So what is the basic purpose of this, or the working principle of rotodynamic type compressor? In rotodynamic types are generally steady flow devices that use the dynamic action of the solid boundary for increasing the pressure. Now this is an example, this is the figure of one rotodynamic type compressor, which is more specifically you can say this one is a centrifugal compressor. Now what is actually done over here? Here the compressible fluid, or the fluid that is to be compressed for raising its pressure, is not confined in a specific volume, and as a result subsequent volume reduction does not occur. Generally the part of this type of rotodynamic type, some part will impart the velocity, the fluid will impart its velocity energy or kinetic energy to continuously flowing vapor or flowing working fluid by means of several components like impeller or rotor, which rotates very high speed. Now due to this kinetic energy, due to the high speed or high velocity, the kinetic energy is changed into pressure energy both by the impeller and the discharge volute or the volute casing. Now in case of the centrifugal compressor, the shape of the impeller blades, these are the vane shape impeller blades, so the shape of the impeller blades determines the relationship between airflow and the pressure generated. Now with respect to this figure, we will also discuss how this centrifugal compressor works. Now unlike positive displacement type, in case of this rotodynamic type compressor, which are steady flow devices, are subjected to less amount of wear and vibration. because no reciprocating part is present, only the rotating part is there. Now depending upon the constructional features, this rotodynamic type is again classified into or subdivided into two groups. One is centrifugal type, another one is axial flow type, and the centrifugal flow type is also known as radial flow. See, if you look at this figure, this one is the inlet, so the fluid enters in this direction, in the direction of this pen, in this direction, perpendicular to this paper. Now centrifugal compressor are also known as turbo compressor, which are generally radial flow type compressor, which is generally used in case of large capacity refrigeration and air conditioning system, whereas these axial flow compressors are used in case of gas liquefaction system. Now how does the centrifugal compressor work? In a centrifugal compressor, the pressure of the refrigerant vapor is increased by the action of centrifugal force. Now when the fluid enters through this radially at the eye of the impeller, due to this diverging cross section of the vane or diverging nature of this arrangement of this vane, in this direction the refrigerant will come out. Okay. Now, due to the centrifugal action, it accelerates the velocity of gases or the velocity of working fluid, which increases the kinetic energy, and which is again converted into pressure as the flow left this volute casing through this outlet and enter into the discharge pipe. Now, a single stage centrifugal compressor has some basic components. What are the components? First one is impeller, second one is vane, third one is volute, where is it is volute casing, inlet, the suction, fourth one, discharge line or outlet, there is the number 5, diffuser plate, number 6, and other shafts and other casing. So first thing, it consists of an impeller to which a number of curved vanes are mounted or arranged. See, these are the curved vanes symmetrically, which are mounted symmetrically. Now the impeller rotates at a high speed. The impeller generally rotates at high speed in a sealed volute casing having some inlet as well as some outlet. Now the refrigerant vapor is pushed to the periphery of this volute casing. It will be pushed at the periphery of this volute casing like this at a very high speed due to centrifugal action when the impeller rotates. Due to this rotation, the vapor refrigerant leaves with a high velocity at the tip of the vane of the impeller, and the kinetic energy thus attained at the impeller outlet. The kinetic energy generally attained at the impeller outlet is generally converted into pressure energy when it passes through this diffuser, which is nothing but vaneless type, which is nothing but a vaneless impeller. Okay. The maximum compression ratio is developed in a single stage centrifugal type compressor is about 4.5. Compression ratio maximum that can be developed is 4.5. But for higher compression ratio, we have to go for multi-stage compression with some intercooling. Now, it can be noted here that the centrifugal compressor doesn't have any valve or valve actuating mechanism. It doesn't have any piston, any cylinder arrangement. That is why the amount of wear and tear is very less in case of centrifugal type compression. So the refrigerant will enter radially at the eye of the impeller due to the symmetrical arrangement of the diffuser type vanes, and due to the centrifugal action created due to the rotation of the impeller, centrifugal force will be generated. Due to the centrifugal force and due to the arrangement of these blades just like a diffuser, the refrigerant vapor will be delivered at a high velocity at the vane tips of the impeller, and the kinetic energy thus attained at the impeller outlet will be converted into pressure energy when it passes over this diffuser or passes through the diffuser. That is nothing but ventless type of influence. So this is the main working principle of centrifugal type compressor. Next, coming to the point, that is reciprocating compressor. So we have already discussed the basic difference between reciprocating and rotary. In case of reciprocating, which is a piston cylinder arrangement, the interaction between sliding piston and the fluid involves a change in volume and subsequently the change in pressure. That means when the volume is increased, pressure will be decreased. When the pressure is increased, volume will be decreased. And this unit is best suited or suitable for small mass flow rate and large pressure ratio. Now, here in this diagram, we will again find out the action of a reciprocating compressor. See, this one is piston cylinder arrangement, and all the parts are marked: suction valve, discharge valve. This is the control volume, piston pin, crank shaft. Rotation is given, and due to the to and fro motion. So reciprocating compressor is the workhorse of the refrigeration and air conditioning industry. It is mostly used compressor for with cooling capacity from a few watt to 100 of kilowatt. And in modern day, the reciprocating compressors are generally rotated at or operates at very high speed, with ranging from 3000 to 3500 rpm. It may be single acting, maybe double acting or multi-cylinder. Now it consists of back and forth piston which moves in a cylinder with some suction valve, some discharge valve to achieve the suction and compression of the refrigerant vapor. And if we minorly notice at this figure, we can say that the working is almost similar with two-stroke engine, as the suction and the compression of the refrigerant are completed in one revolution of the crankshaft. In one revolution, there will be one suction and one compression. Now, suction side of the compressor is connected to the exit of the evaporator. The suction valve is connected to the exit of the evaporator. That means at the outlet of the evaporator, compressor will be attached. So this suction side or suction valve will be attached with the exit of the evaporator. Whereas this discharge valve will be connected with the inlet of the condenser. Now the suction, that is the inlet, and the discharge, the outlet valves are open and closed due to the pressure difference between the cylinder and the inlet or outlet manifold respectively. And the pressure at the inlet manifold is equal to or slightly less than evaporator pressure. And due to the pressure difference between the inside portion of the cylinder and the inlet manifold or exhaust manifold, this opening and closing of the suction two valves takes place. And similarly, the pressure in the outlet manifold is equal to or slightly greater than the condenser pressure. So the inlet manifold pressure is equal to or less than evaporator pressure. Outlet manifold pressure is equal to or greater than condenser pressure. So by another diagram, your idea will be more clear. See this diagram, just like a piston two-stroke engine operation. Suction valve, discharge valve is there, cylinder head is there. The piston will be reciprocated within the cylinder, and due to one single revolution, in case of single acting, both suction and compression will take place. And the suction and compression, these things will be more clear if we draw a PV diagram, and if we explain this process with the help of a PV diagram. Now see, if we draw a PV diagram, so first you have to go for suction stroke when the inlet valve will open. Suction stroke or induction stroke. So if we draw this diagram, I will again see the figure again. So if we draw this diagram, then start from this. Suppose this is the initial pressure. So first there will be an intake stroke. Suppose this line denotes the intake stroke. Suppose this point is D, somehow this point is A. During intake stroke, what actually happens? The piston moves outwards in the outward direction and the suction valve open, and the air at the atmospheric pressure and temperature will be sucked into the cylinder. See from this diagram. During suction stroke, this one is the induction stroke, suction valve will open, atmospheric air and pressure air will be introduced into the cylinder, or the working fluid will be introduced into the cylinder, and the piston will move in the downward direction. Okay, and the volume of the air handled can be termed in terms of stroke volume. Now during this stroke, outward stroke, the flow work is done by the air, because since the valve is open, the air will be introduced in the cylinder, so air will do some work onto the piston. As a result, piston will move in the downward direction. So work is done by the air, and the mass of the cylinder increases from 0. See in this diagram, it is written that the mass of the cylinder increases from 0 at point D to some value, up to some value at point A. Now during this entire process, since this is a constant pressure process, so temperature remains constant, as in case of ideal gas. So the next process, what will take in the next case? In the next case, the piston will move in the upward direction. The piston will obviously move in the upward direction. So when the piston will move in the upward direction, the compression will take place. Inlet valve closes and the air is compressed. Now this compression process can take place. See, this arrow will be changed. This is the compression process. The piston will be moving from bottom dead to top dead center. Both the valves are open, so the entire air will be compressed within a specific volume. And this compression has three types of possibilities. It may be polytropic compression, it may be isothermal compression, or it may be isentropic compression. So for the three different cases, we have to find out how can we calculate the work input. So during this compression process, what is actually done? The piston will push, or piston will exert some pressure or force on the air that is present during, or that is sucked during the suction stroke. As a result, the air will be compressed. Now the process line, if we consider the compression to be polytropic first, that means Pp to the power n equal to constant. So the diagram will be like this, polytropic process. So at the end of compression, it will be at point B. Now after the end of compression, the next stroke is your delivery stroke. That means that just at the end of the compression, the pressure and the pressure will be so high that it will temperature will so high that it will help to open the discharge valve or delivery valve, so that the air can be, the compressed air can be removed with the help of the open delivery valve from point B to point C. This delivery stroke takes place again at constant pressure, and the temperature also remains constant. So D to A is a suction stroke, A to B is a compression stroke, B to C is a delivery stroke. During suction and delivery, both the pressure temperature remains constant. No heat exchange takes place with the surrounding. Mass of the air increases in this section, mass of the air decreases in this part. During suction, flow work is done on the piston by the air or by the working fluid. During delivery, flow work is done by the piston on the working fluid. Okay, so how can we calculate the work done? Suppose this is the origin. Suppose this volume is V1 and this volume is V2. So how can I calculate the work done? So here the indicated work per cycle can be calculated as this area A, B, C, D. So area A, B, C, D. Now if we mark this point as E and mark this point as F and this is O, so this area ABCD can be written as area A, B, E, F, this total area A, B, E, F plus area B, C, O, E, this one B, C, O, E minus area A, D, O, F A, D, O, F. So first one is A, B, E, F. See, A, B, E, F. So what is the process AB? PV to the power n equal to constant polytropic. So the area will be P2 into V. If it is VA, this one is VB. So P2 into VB minus P1 into VA by n minus 1. This one is the first area plus BCOE, BCOE. What is the process BC? Constant pressure process. Constant pressure process BC. So area will be P2 into VB minus ADOF. ADOF. D2A process is again constant pressure process. So area is P1 into VA. So if we rearrange this, finally we can get n by n minus 1 P2 into VB minus P1 into VA. So this one will give you the indicated work done. Now if we consider the air to be an ideal gas or perfect gas, so as per the equation of perfect gas, we can write P1 into VA equal to m dot R T1, P2 into VB equal to m dot R T2. And that is why the work done can be written as m dot R into T2 minus T1. Now, since this process A to B is polytropic process, that is PV to the n equal to constant. So during this process, we can write T2 by T1 equal to P2 by P1 to the power n minus 1 by n. There is the general relationship between temperature and pressure in case of a polytropic process. So work input for the cycle can also be written as n by n minus 1 m dot R T1 P2 by P1 n minus 1 by n minus 1 equal to n by n minus 1 P1 V1 into this term. So this one is your indicated power. So your shaft power will be indicated power plus brake power. So indicated power plus frictional power, the power used for overcoming the friction. Indicated power plus frictional power. So if you are asked to find out what will be the efficiency of the motor or efficiency of the compressor, that will be brake power or shaft power divided by input power or indicated power. This one is indicated power. So by this way you can calculate what is the indicated work per cycle in case of a reciprocating compressor. So today is up to this. In the next class I will discuss about, in this diagram we have discussed about the working of a reciprocating compression when no clearance volume is there. That means at the end of the compression stroke, we are considering that the piston will reach at the top of this cylinder. Now, if clearance is there, then how can we calculate the work done and how can we calculate the efficiency? That will be discussed in the next class. Thank you.